Yo, what's happening, everybody? We live. We in the building. We got some news today. All right, we finally put together. Everything is set in place. We're gonna see where we go from here, but we're definitely gonna chop it up. We're gonna see kind of everybody feels about this. We're gonna engage with the chat. I appreciate everybody kind of rolling in. Chat, we're gonna get to you in just a second. But I got my guys here with me in the war room. We're gonna talk about this. We know who we got. We got Spytek as the GM. That's set. And we now got our guy Pete Carroll. All right. Maybe wasn't on the top of everybody's list, but at least we got something set. And we're gonna talk about it for a little bit. Just kind of get your guys' opinion. We're gonna talk with the chat and kind of rock this thing out. But I appreciate you guys joining me. Chris, how you feeling, my guy?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm not gonna say like super excited, but I am, I do have some optimism. I think that I know we'll kind of talk about it in detail. I know a lot of people were, some people aren't happy. My boy Severe, but my thing is I'm ready to give him a chance, and I got a couple reasons why. So we'll talk about it.
I'm with you, man. Severe, how you doing, brother?
Yeah, man. I said it before. This is like getting a PlayStation 2 for Christmas. This is like telling your mom you want some Air Jordans and she bring back some Air Gordons. This is like, man. But like, this is what I expected. Somebody said on Twitter, like, oh man, I really want the Raiders to hire a young offensive head coach. Please, Markdavis, please, Tom Brady, do that for me. And I said, I bet you anything, they'll hire an elderly defensive-minded head coach. The Raiders will shortly name Pete Carroll as their head coach. Watch. That's what I said. On the 20th, you can check my Twitter timeline and look what happened today. Like, the Raiders can't – it's like perpetual punch yourself in the face syndrome as an organization. Like, they just continually slap themselves in the face. And it's going to keep happening. This is going to keep happening, apparently.
So I'm with you. Here's the thing, at least for me, right? At least for me is, and we're going to dive into it, kind of hit the pros and cons and stuff like that. And I think for once we've been able to, we can kind of sit back and go, okay, let's trust the process. For how many years have we gone through, whether it be Josh McDaniels, and all of a sudden we have Antoniopierce. Sometimes even with Gruden. I think we want to trust the process with Gruden. Obviously, that didn't work out. But it's been too many years now that we haven't been able to sit back and go, let's trust the process. And I think with Pete Carroll, we can finally just say, if you like him or not, we got to trust the process. And hopefully he kind of lasts the process. That's 73 years old. So that's a whole nother talking point. We'll definitely get to it. But I want to say what's up to the chat, man. Everybody's kind of getting up in here. Let's go, Mark. I appreciate you popping in the building. Raider Paul pulling up. Appreciate you as well. Jeff, I expected you to be here, my guy. Appreciate you pulling up. Dominic 5 in the building. Tyler A, appreciate you coming through. Jose in the building as well. SoCal. Sal, always good seeing you, man. Appreciate the support all the time. Me as well. You in the buildings. I see you. Obi-Wan Kenobi in the building. Appreciate you pulling up. Anthony Estrada as well. Good seeing you. Turf, man. What's happening? Just exchanging a little bit. I might link up with you later today, possibly. But cool Kev. Good seeing you, man. In the building. Let's go. Raider. Always showing up. Good seeing you. We're going to keep scrolling down. 831 in the building. Appreciate you coming up, man. Brown Butt in the building. What's happening, man? Let's see. My two, you in here. Good seeing you, my guy. Always good seeing you. Rundown. Oh, guys, between Turf, Rundown, go show your support, man. They always throw content out there. I think they're going to be on tonight too, so make sure you throw that support out there. Alex Raider in the building. Appreciate you. Sean Johnson, always good. You're always in here as well, man. Let's see. And all right, cool. First and foremost, chat, let me know. Or if you have a question or a comment, hit that hashtag Raider so I do see it as we kind of go through this. But we're gonna kind of give you our thoughts on this hire. It broke early this morning that Pete Carroll is officially the next Las Vegas Raiders head coach, which is a little crazy. And so let's go through the pros and cons. But chat, let me know what your thoughts on it. Let's do this. Rate it from 1 to 10. From 1 to 10, what's your rating on this hire of Pete Carroll? Chris, I'll throw it to you in just a second. I'll give you my rating. I'm gonna give this a 7.5. That's kind of where I'm gonna sit on this one, because look, you gotta love the history, you gotta love the experience, you gotta love the fact that he could probably come in and establish a pretty decent coaching staff and kind of turn the tables with this. He can create a good culture, and he's gonna allow us to finally have that ability to potentially trust the process and have some patience with it a little bit. And so I'm going to give it a 7.5, because at the end of the day, I think with what was left, based on what was reported of the candidates that were actually interested, I think we got at least the top of what was potentially interested. And so I'll give it a 7.5. That's kind of where I'm rocking with. Chris, man, what's your rating?
I'm gonna give it 8. Give it an 8. I think more so for the reason that we know that our job opportunity is not desirable. So as much as we want a Ben Johnson, or as much as we want a good offensive minded guy, without a quarterback, as we know, what's going to get a top tier coaching candidate with us. I think Pete Carroll is one of the few guys that has a history of being able to take, someone that's, not necessarily a top tier quarterback. Russell Wilson, I think they got him in the 3rd round, and, was able to help out Geno Smith as well. So, having that premier quarterback isn't necessarily super important to him. And he's used to, and has shown it before, being able to, just get a team that was in the dumps and be able to help build them up. I mean, the Seahawks were coming off of 2 bad seasons with Holmgren, and he was able to get them better immediately. So, we can't underestimate that.
Yeah, I'm with you. Good take, Severe, man. Give us your rating. Let's hear it.
5.
I think Jeff might be waiting to listen.
It's a
what
5.
Your rating is.
It's
Got
a
your 5?
It's a 5, man. Dude is 7. He's going to be 74 years old. You can't. If I have to worry about who's going to be the next head coach as I'm hiring this head coach, it's already an F. You don't go after Ben Johnson. It's like you don't go to the car lot and be like, man, I'm gonna give me a Mercedes Benz. Like, I know what. I ended up getting this Accord. Like, not like what? What happened? It's really reliable and it's fuel efficient. Like,
come on, man.
That's not what how do you go from this to that? You were hunting for the top. And you're like, I'm settling for this right now because you know what? They didn't have the red one. Yeah, the red one. I wanted the red one. I went with this. Like, come on, man.
With this lime green one.
Like I said, he took over a team that went 5-11 or went 5-11. His first 2 seasons, he went 7-9. The difference in those first 2 seasons is that they acquired Marshawn Lynch. So Marshawn Lynch is good for 2 games, right? At least. And he only beat in those 2 seasons, those first seasons where he won 14 games, only 4 of those were against teams that were above 500. The other wins were all either divisional wins, and the division was horrible at the time, or they were under 500. And then he didn't win double-digit games until he got a quarterback in Russell Wilson. And then the reason he was fired by the Seahawks is because he had no ability to hire coordinators. His coordinators he were hiring were all bad, and they were failing him. And people don't realize this about Pete Carroll. They think he's a defensive coach. He's a defensive coach like Antoniopierce is a defensive coach. He doesn't call defensive plays. He's a CEO type coach. And guess who he inherited as soon as he got to the Seahawks? You already had Gus Bradley, and you already had Dan Quinn. two of the better defensive coaches in the league. So he already had 2 guys in place already. So those are the architects of that defense. And think people are, oh, well, he had say in personnel. No, he had veto power in personnel. It was still Snyder making all of the moves. Pete Carroll just had the final yes or no on the moves. So he had the power to veto them. So he went along with them. So he gets some credit for it. But he wasn't the guy out there like selecting the players. He just had veto power.
So the only thing that I will say to that is you're right in a sense that Pete Carroll is kind of that CEO head coach. Right, he is without question that rah-rah head coach. He is that motivator, right? Where Antoniopierce was the motivator, the leader of men, that type of stuff. That's where Pete Carroll, I think, definitely thrives and he shines. And again, I dropped a video earlier today, kind of about it. And 73 years old, you just don't know how quickly. Even though there's that video out there where he's throwing footballs and he's kind of getting in it with on the practice field, which is cool. But what is really going to be interesting is at what point does he start to kind of feel that fatigue? And does he feel it? And when it happens, does he try to hang on? And if you try to hang on and that locker room feels that energy start to drop a little bit, that moves on to the locker room. Those players will feel it. And now he no longer is that rah-rah, that leader of men that just get in that locker room, that practice, everything pumped up like he did 10, 15 years ago. He's no longer that guy. And so that's where my biggest concern comes into play is whether or not he can maintain that ability to be that kind of rah-rah guy. Because Severe, to your point, he is kind of that CEO head coach.
But what's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with it.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
But what that means is that so generally, if you have an offensive-minded head coach, like your most important hire is your DC at that point, right? Or in our case, we had our defensive-minded head coach, but we already had an established or an entrenched defensive coordinator. So our most important hire was an offensive coordinator. When you don't call defensive plays or offensive plays, then both your coordinators are greatly important. So you have to make 2 good hires instead of just one. That greatly increases your chances of failure at the hiring process. And his inability to hire is what got him fired in Seattle. That's what pushed him out of the door.
But isn't that Tomlin though? I mean, this is like Tomlin. I mean, a true leader of men. I mean, we got to think, man. Like as much as we love guys to call plays, but there's nothing like having a true leader of men in the building. We haven't really. I mean, we had it in AP, but someone that has that can show his ring off, that has that he's been a winner, was winner in college, winner here. I mean, just I think we're taking for granted just being able to really set a foundation because again, like we said with the Seahawks, they had 2 bad years with Holmgren, and he did go 7-7 those 2 years, but then from there, he got him to the Super Bowl, 2 years in a row. They should have won.
They got a quarterback.
Okay, but that's fine. I mean, but you act like he just had a quarterback fall in his lap. I mean, they got a good guy in the 3rd round.
Yeah, his GM. No, who their starter was supposed to be.
Was it Flynn or somebody?
Exactly. Exactly. So they literally had a quarterback fall in their lap. Quite literally. So it's not like, oh man, we identified our guy. This is a guy. They did identify their guy. They identified their guy as Matt Flynn. And he floundered, and Russell Wilson beat him out. And that's when they won.
But he also set the foundation, though. He set the foundation. They became a running first team. They got Marshawn. They hit a home run there. I just don't want to. I don't want to underlook that because I know it's easy to say he doesn't call plays, but I think when you get a proven winner, that's legitly a proven winner. That go a long way, man. And them dudes will run through a wall for him, man. And all of them say it.
Yeah, he's not a bad. I mean, he's not a bad coach. He should and will one day be in the Hall of Fame. But the fact that he's been trying to get jobs these past 2 years, and everybody's been telling him no. He tried with 3 teams this year, right? He tried with us. He tried with the Jets, and he tried with the Bears. And you say what you will about the Jets and the Bears. However you feel about them, you can either say, "Oh man, those are bad organizations." And they told him no. That's what a bad organization would say to a good coach is no. Or you can say like, damn, even they told him no. Like, damn, like, you feel me? It's like, it's depend on how you look at it, because the team that he built up, that he was in that building for years with, like, you know, like, say what you will about the fan base in Pittsburgh, they may want to get rid of Tomlin, but the ownership and the front office in Pittsburgh, they ain't letting Tomlin go nowhere. What did they do with Pete Carroll? They pushed him out the door and gave him, they created a role for him to essentially, do busy work. So I'm not saying the man can't coach. I'm not saying that he can't. But the thing is, if you're hiring somebody only to hire somebody later, that's not a good hire. But like, if you have to hire somebody in 2-3 years, or 3-4 years, he's probably not gonna do the 4. That's why they put a team option on it. So probably 3 years, if we're lucky. That doesn't make no sense.
So I don't think any of us are okay with the fact that it does feel like they had to settle for Pete Carroll, right? They swung for the fences on Ben Johnson and they lost. Right? They lost. And so, and of the coaches that accepted interviews, they wanted they requested Todd Monken. He didn't want to come in. They requested, I think they requested for Liam Cohen to come in. He didn't come in. And so, out of the coaches that actually accepted a request and had interest in the potential job, I think Pete Carroll is the best one. And so, whether or not we agree that he's going to be the right guy for the job, I do think, unfortunately, like we went with the best option at this point that I think was willing to accept the job. And that's where it does get tough. But I definitely want to get to some of these super chats. Yeah. So I appreciate it. Ryan Edwards, super chat. I appreciate you starting it up, man. You said sign Russell Wilson.
You got the field to give.
Trade for DK Metcalf.
Oh my goodness.
We are trying to get Severe as heated as possible,
bro.
Pete Carroll and throwing Fields' name in there. I'm just we're trying to get it heated, but man, I appreciate that. We're definitely going to talk more about that, maybe a little bit later, but definitely we're going to go live on Sunday night too, and we're going to definitely talk about more when it comes to personnel, maybe draft, tendencies with Pete Carroll and type of personnel he likes. But we definitely want to dive into kind of offensive coordinators, potential offensive coordinators. But we definitely still want to touch on the pros and cons. But Ryan, I definitely appreciate the super chat. But sign Russell Wilson. Obviously got the ties. Justin Fields. We don't want to see Severe reach through the camera and trade for DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf, man, that's. I like a guy in the draft to replace for a number one receiver, but I see you, Chris. So, but man, I appreciate the super chat 100%. We got another one down here. Yo, Raider, super chat. What's going on, man?
Raider.
Yeah. Get your National Glacier Fire ready. I'm telling you, you can't not say it. You know what I'm saying? I think that's going to be the joke for a while. Myra G, I appreciate the memberships, man. Always good. Always good. Yeah. Severe's gonna be like that for a little bit, but we're gonna be all right.
He'll be all right, man. He'll be all right.
We're gonna work through it. Chris, what's up, man? Appreciate the super chat, brother. I appreciate you. Hey, but I appreciate everybody in the building. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Also, subscribe if you're liking the content. If you like hearing us kind of roll about this, I'm gonna jump into the chat here in just a second. But I got Chris, Protect the Show podcast. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe, say what's up. I got the Severe Raider. My channel is Real Talk Raider Nation. I'm 805 Raider. But we're going to dive real quick into the pros and cons of Pete Carroll. I know we're kind of diving into it a little bit, but here, let's look at it this way. Let's first, we'll look at some of the cons. Obviously, we talked about age, right? And Severe, you're obviously saying you just don't like the fact that we're hiring on a coach that is already planning his exit strategy before he's even in the building. And I agree. That's where it's tough and it presents a risk. But another, I don't want to say it's a con, but to me, it's just a big question mark and Severe, you already kind of touched on it, but Chris, I definitely want to get your feedback on it, is what can he do as it relates to building a coaching staff as well as the successor to him, right? Because Severe, you touched on it. How many coaches did he actually build up and groom through his coaching tree? Not very many. I'm not impressed with the list. You got Dan Quinn. You can give him Dan Quinn, right?
He inherited Dan Quinn.
He inherited Dan Quinn.
He was already on staff.
He's on staff,
Yeah,
but he was with him enough to where you can understand that he learned underneath Pete Carroll, right? And so he was with Pete Carroll enough to where you can kind of place him under that tree or part of Pete Carroll's tree. He made it to the Falcons Super Bowl. He is obviously doing good things over at Washington. Remains to be seen just how much he can be successful with Washington year over year. But outside of that, there's not a whole lot. Dave Canellis, he's still a first-year head coach. Gus Bradley, in my opinion, was a very conservative defensive coordinator that just didn't do well outside of, obviously, failed with the Jags.
Get ready. Get ready, 805. Get ready.
But here's the thing is, he can bring some veteran names in, I think, and maybe he can get a young name in to potentially groom. But my biggest concern is, can he actually groom them to be his successor? That's number one. And number two, there's still question marks is he going to be here long enough to groom that person? What happens if after next year, he's like, man, I'm old, I ain't cutting it, and he's got to bounce, and his successor just isn't ready. So 2 questions, right? Coaching tree, do you have concerns, or are you good with it? Him grooming a coach, and the concerns of him being able to stick around long enough to groom somebody. Chris, I'll throw it to you first.
Yeah, so when we say groom, I mean, so like even if you look at like the Belichick tree, like, I mean, he got people ready. Now, once they had their own opportunity, did they succeed? I mean, that's kind of on them. But I think that, you know, you had Dan Quinn, you have even Robert Saleh. Didn't he start with him as well as a position coach? You know, at one point, Ken Norton Jr. was considered a good name. I mean, he came to us and didn't do much, but you know, at one point, you know, he was a good name. I mean, I think my thing is, I just think what we need from him is to build a winning culture, a winning foundation. We just don't have that. And again, we had 2 good seasons in the past 25 years, man. It's like, again, I don't think, like, do I think that, you know, Pete was, you know, the number 1 guy, the top guy that we all wanted? No, but we all talked about it. Like, I don't know if we just got a little spoiled because we heard Ben Johnson actually interviewed with us, but you know, none of us really thought Ben Johnson was even going to, you know, be an option. I think we just got a little spoiled when we kind of got teased with it a little bit. But I mean, why would someone want to be a Raiders coach? I mean, there's nothing really to make anyone to be a Raiders coach. So it's like, who else do we get? Like who else do we get, man?
We had to clean house and I mean, AP gone, Telesco gone. We had to clean this thing to make it somewhat attractive. And even then, people were like, "Yeah, thanks, but no thanks." They bounced. They went. That's what I'm saying. Didn't even accept interviews.
Yeah, like people will rather stay a coordinator than to even talk to us. I mean, they don't even want to talk to us.
So that says 2 things. That says if like nobody else would talk to us, and Pete Carroll was like,
no. But the thing is, he's not. But the thing, this isn't his first job. Like if I'm a young coach and you know, you have one bad opportunity, you out of there. Pete Carroll, like, exactly. Hey, I mean,
he cool.
You know what I'm saying?
He had line. Look, and my only problem is like I don't think Pete Carroll can't coach. Like that's not what I'm saying. I don't think Pete Carroll can't coach. I don't think he's not a leader. I don't think any of those things. I just think that anytime you make a decision on something that's supposed to be long term, like you don't buy a house with the intention of moving 3 years later. Like, oh, I'm just buying this house, this is just like my, you know, I'm gonna move 3 years. Like when you spend all that money in a house, you do everything you do just to move later. Like that's not the, you know, to move 3 years down the line. Maybe like you say 10 years down the line, maybe it's a starter home. You let it build some equity, but you stay in it for a little while, right? You just like looking like, man, I'm about to buy this house, stay here for 3 years, and then like that's not what you do.
But the thing is, 3 years with the Raiders, that he would probably be the second longest tenure.
That's long term.
That's a long
term. But that's my thing. That's part of the problem of why we couldn't get anybody else. Yeah. So now instead of sticking and staying previously, to show and build equity and trust in the job market, so people can say, you know what, hey, if I go there, you know, I have the opportunity to make mistakes and fall on my face. I guarantee you, these people, if Pete Carroll don't win next year, and which he should win, if this team is healthier and we just upgrade slightly at quarterback, we should win more games. You know, we won't have the same gauntlet that of opponents that this year next year that we had this year. So we should see improvement just off of health and upgraded quarterback play alone. But like, if Pete Carroll don't come out like gangbusters, I better hear these same people that was coming for AP they better keep that same energy with Pete Carroll. But this is a cleanup job, and he's trying to set the culture, and like I don't want to hear none of that nonsense. I want to hear, get this dude out of here, throw him on his ass, he's a bum, get rid of him. All this guy can't coach. All that same stuff they was talking about AP, that they better hear about. And it's ironic. These same people, when the name Bill Belichick was floated, we don't want Bill Belichick. I don't want Bill Belichick for it. Well, why we want the greatest coach of all time? They said no. He's too. And one of the things they were saying, he's too old. He's too old. He's passed them by. Yeah. But we get Pete Carroll, and all I see is confetti and fireworks. It's crazy, man. People just want to be happy to be. And look, I don't want to steal your joy. But I'm gonna be the dude sitting here waiting for when that merry-go-round come around. And I'm gonna be still waiting right there, looking dead at you, because it always ends up coming back around.
So we're gonna talk about we talked about the cons. We're gonna talk about the pros. But Billy, man, I'm gonna respond to this real quick. You're saying crying about age is pretty sad. The thing about it's not crying about age. It's knowing that there is a definite concern based on the fact that we don't know. It's a 3-year contract with a 4th-year option. There's still questions on whether or not he can stand 3 years. We don't know. So age is definitely a factor. It's not crying about it. It's making sure or just presenting it and knowing that is a concern. And so, again, not crying about it. It's just knowing that it is a concern, because he is the oldest head coach in history to be, I think, hired on at any given point. And so,
to coach at any given point, just to be, not even to be hired, to coach.
Yeah, to coach.
The oldest before him was Romeo Crennel with the Texans. like that was the oldest before him, and he was 72. So he's going to be the oldest to ever get hired for a job, and the oldest to ever be a head coach in the NFL.
But how sharp is his mind, man?
He's a sharp guy.
And I know that's what I'm saying. Like, we can't get stuck in the age.
I'm sure.
Because to be honest, I would say that he's probably a lot sharper than a lot of other younger guys. And we know that.
And just experience alone too.
Yeah, that's what. So like, cause I think my biggest thing and what I keep thinking about is, will Pete Carroll get out coached by the other coaches in our division? I can't say that. Like, I can't, like, a lot of them are, they all know ball. They're all smart in their own way. But I think that, sometimes, as much as I love AP, that's why he needed to bring so much experience around him. He needed the Marvin Lewis's and stuff like that. But I really think that, like, he can sit at the table against any of those guys, and, it'll be a true chess match. And I don't, we need that, man. To me, like, I'm tired of, seeing the bad game management and stuff like that. I think a lot of stuff's going to be cleaned up, to be honest. I'm not expecting him to, bend over backwards and make everything, do backflips, but I do expect him to build a foundation that we haven't had for a while.
What's up, bro?
I'll say this to this point, right? I'll tell you guys a story. It's not an apples to apples comparison, but this is similar, right? So I'm a Lakers fan. I'm from LA. I'm a Lakers fan, right? When I was a kid, my favorite player was Eddie Jones. My favorite player, like, because he was the Lakers' best player. Time out, right? You know where I'm going.
Where you going with this.
I'm going with this, right? So then, once upon a time, there was a young high school player named Kobe Bean Bryant, right? Kobe Bean Bryant, and the Lakers traded, a No, they traded your boy Vladdy. Boy, you like
my boy Vladdy, man. That's my dog.
Vladdy. They traded Vladdy to get this young player. And then, you know, they eventually moved on from Eddie Jones. And I was pissed because every time Kobe would make a mistake, I'm like, man, Eddie wouldn't have done that. Eddie Jones wouldn't have made them. He would have turned it over right there. Eddie would have passed right there. He would have did this. But know what? When you bring in a young guy, you can let him make those mistakes because he's learning and growing in the process.
Pete Carroll, Eddie Jones, though?
Huh?
Pete Carroll's Eddie Jones?
Not like I said, it's not apples to apples. It's not apples to apples. But they moved. But Eddie Jones was an all-star.
No, he was
an all-star. So like he was a good player. He was considered one of the best players at his position in the league. And Pete Carroll ain't gonna come in and is Pete Carroll a top 5 coach right now, top 10 coach right now, top 15 coach right now, maybe, right? Yeah. So you know, like so easily. Eddie was one of the best at his position, and they got rid of him to let this young guy grow. So they understood, you know what? We have a ceiling with this person right here. There's only so high we can go with this person. And if we keep this person right here as a cap on this younger guy will never reach his ceiling because he's going to always be chasing this other guy. And we're wasting valuable time with him trying to chase him. Just let him make these mistakes now. That's going to accelerate his growth process. And that's what happened. So we had some pitfalls. Everybody remembers all those air balls in Utah and people booing Kobe because he threw those. And he said, hey, straight up, I'll shoot it again. I'm going to shoot it again because you have to go through that sometimes. But we never allow anybody to go through that. That's like us seeing Kobe shoot them air balls. Like, you know what? We train Kobe. Let's bring in like that would be like, remember Phil Jackson tried to trade Kobe for Sean Marion? That was like if we traded Kobe for Sean Marion because like,
who's the Kobe coach though? Who's the Kobe coach that we're missing out on though?
It was Phil.
No, I'm talking about the now. Coach. So yeah, I'm talking about now. Who's the Kobe coach?
Well, we don't know who we don't know. We don't know. We don't know any of these guys.
But you knew Kobe was a star though. But like you knew Kobe was a star. You knew he was next.
No, you knew Kobe. Kobe had potential. Remember, people didn't think at that point the only player to come out and have success from high school was KG. So this is not like today's time where people come out of high school. But this was before them, right? Like Kobe was the at that time he was the youngest player. And I think like the next year, Jermaine O'Neal broke the record for the youngest player ever drafted. But this wasn't a common occurrence. And KG coming in the league and doing it and having success, that gave teams confidence. You know what? We can go ahead and do this. But if you never give those guys that opportunity, or if after their first year, they're not, but this guy's not an all-star. He's not the guy we thought he was going to be. Let's get rid of him. Like, you have to let people learn and grow in their roles. We don't do that consistently. But now, guess what? We're going to give this older guy 3 years to make mistakes. 3 years that we wouldn't have given a younger guy, or we haven't given younger guys in the past. And it's counterproductive.
But what if Kobe didn't want to go to the Lakers? That's the point you're missing.
That is true.
You know what I'm saying? What if he did?
Here's the thing.
If he was like, no, what? Yes. I don't want to go there.
And I think that's kind of where we need to sit in a second, right? Is we got Pete Carroll, may not be a big fan of it, but at the end of the day, I have a feeling, it's a gut feeling, but I think I might be right, is Tom Brady and Mark Davis had to just pull this trigger because there was nobody else returning phone calls.
Man, we would have been.
You know what I'm saying? There was they had Ron Rivera in for an interview. I mean, you're talking about Spagnuolo. You got Vance Joseph. You got guys that most likely wouldn't even come over here for this job. And so I think that they had to pull this trigger quick on Pete Carroll because he was the best option that was willing to come take this job.
Yeah, that's a key.
That is likely the case.
You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's what's tough. And so, but hey, I appreciate it in the chat. I'm going to get you guys. I want to let my guys talk. I want to let my guys preach at you guys a little bit. But hey, Jeff, I appreciate you. Yes, you're doing a well check. Severe's doing good. We're going to get to some pros of Pete Carroll. All right. And we're going to talk about some offensive coordinators potentially. All right. But we're going to kind of force Severe to kind of have some pros of Pete Carroll. That's what we're going to do in just a second. But then we got, let's see, we're going to go down. Myra, appreciate it. Marshawn coming back too. I would take him. I would bring Marshawn back.
You don't like Pete Carroll.
I don't think that's true.
I I think didn't he flip him off? Or after the what's called it? He said come out the field and flipped him off.
No, that was the safety. What's his name?
No, he flipped. Earl Thomas flipped him off when they wouldn't give him a contract.
And so
yeah, but that's the year he held out and they wouldn't give him a contract and he wanted a new contract because he was scared he'd get hurt. Then I think week 4 he broke his leg and ended the season. I'm talking about after the Super Bowl. Yeah, when he was on the cart, he flipped off the Seahawks.
I didn't know Lynch did
but I'm saying I think Marshawn did it as well after they didn't give him the ball in the Super Bowl.
No, can remember Marshawn he would end up going back.
Yeah, but I want to say he talked about it on the podcast. He flipped him off.
Yeah,
I'm sure he did it. And
he cool, man.
And then he went back to the locker room with like, he went back to the locker room with like, we cool. All right, just had to get that out of my system. What's up, Rebel? Appreciate you pulling up, man. But I appreciate everybody in the building. So let's do this. We're gonna talk some. We're gonna talk some pros with Pete Carroll, right? And I'll start off, and then Chris, I'll throw it to you. Obviously he's a culture changer, right? He's going to come in, and as long as he's got that, that energy, even though he's 73 years old, going to be 74 at kickoff next season. As long as he brings that energy, he's going to change this culture. And I do think that there's a good chance that some of these players, because we have one of the youngest rosters in the NFL, so these young kids are going to probably see Pete Carroll, understand what he's done, not just at the NFL level, but also at the college level. So they're going to understand the history. Now, I think he's instantly going to gain that respect, which is good. But I also think at the same time, we do have a really good chance that he could build a decent coaching staff. Remains to be seen if he can bring in a younger up-and-comer. I would be okay if he brought in maybe some veteran guys that could establish some true leadership, confidence in some of these players,
that's what we need. Yeah.
Where these younger players can go, oh shit, these guys have done it.
This is how
follow this guy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that's kind of what this locker room needs right now is, and again, I'll throw just a name out there, like a Ron Rivera, right? If Ron Rivera came in to coach the defense, I think these young kids would know this guy has done it before, so I got to listen. I'm not saying that's the guy. I'm just saying as a veteran presence, that these young players can come in, or this coach will come in, these players will instantly have respect for the guys that are speaking in front of them, and that goes a long way in the NFL. It goes a long way, and so definitely one of the things that I like about Pete Carroll is that I think he's going to build a pretty strong coaching staff. Now, what comes of it will remain to be seen, but I think initially he could build a pretty strong coaching staff. That's definitely one pro that I definitely have. Chris, I'll throw it to you first.
Yeah, no, to me that's the biggest thing I want from him, because like right now, like our organization is such in shambles, man. And honestly, I had to really come to terms and come to grips with that. That's why I had such a hard time this season more than seasons before, because I'm one of those guys that, have always been pretty optimistic. And I'm at a point now where like optimism is earned. So I'm not just going to drink the Kool-Aid. So even with him, I'm not going to drink the Kool-Aid. But I will say, I think he can finally build the foundation of who we're going to be. And honestly, that's all I can ask for right now, because we have no real identity. Whenever you talk about the Raiders, we got to go back to the 60s and 70s. Even when new players come, you ask them about the Raiders and they say, oh, yeah, they have such a good history. And like they always got to go back to, the civil rights movement days and all that stuff. We have nothing new to talk about. So, all I can ask for with him is just build a foundation of who we are. Who are we going to?
Pete Carroll was a young man during this. He can tell you all about it. He can tell you all about it. Rosa Parks there right next to me.
LH Raider, we're going to talk about OCs in a little bit.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's, I don't know, man. That's, yeah. So I honestly, like, I'm not going to be one of those guys that say he's just going to flip the switch and we're, gonna be in the playoffs, but I think he can at least build a foundation that we haven't had since, the first time Gruden was here, and that's sad to say. It's just, we have no identity, man. No one wants to come here. Maybe he can get us to a point where guys want to come here and be part of this organization and not get overpaid.
Yeah, and I'd be curious what the reaction is to the other coaches in our division. We got Andy Reid, we got Sean Payton, and we got Jim Harbaugh. Like, I wonder what the reaction is when we announced it. And I do think that it'll definitely help with just gaining just a little more respect amongst the AFC West. That hopefully that is going to at least make these coaches sit up in their seat just a little bit more, sit a little straight in the morning, knowing that they can't slip. So those three teams, they won. They made it to the playoffs. We were the odd ones out. We got to work our way back in, and hopefully this is somewhat of a first step. And so, real quick, so I'm gonna throw it to you, but Coach, man, I appreciate the super chat. Said the goal line call in the Super Bowl was the NFL telling Carroll to make that call to build their poster boy Brady. Tired of hearing about that. That goal line call in the Super Bowl, yeah, that was a tough one.
Yeah, that
was a tough one.
Disgusting.
I remember where I was at when that call was made, and I don't know when Marshawn Lynch flipped them off, but that might have been that moment. All right, Severe. I'll let Chris talk. Give me some pros of Pete Carroll, man.
No comment.
Exactly right. I think. Hey, man.
I know you got one.
What they do when they do debates? Like, I think he's a great family man.
Great. Just
great. I'm not saying Pete can't. Cause that's what people like. People like.
We're trying 805. The
people can't
805 Raider.
Contextualize criticism. Like, if you don't sing somebody's praises and he hates him. He just like, no, Pete Carroll can coach. He can coach. I think he's a good leader. I think he's very experienced. There's very few situations that can't occur in a game or in the locker room or in an organization that he hasn't seen before. So I think that gives him some advantage in terms of knowing how to navigate that. And ironically, Antoniopierce brought on people to do that, and he was criticized for it. Then he brought in Norv Turner to help call the offense with Scott Turner, and he was criticized for it. So it's just the goalpost moving. I have a problem with. But Pete Carroll, like I said, he's an experienced guy. He's won in the past. I think he's built culture. The Seattle culture there was some dicey things there because there was a rift, I know, between the offense and the defense. Then there was especially a rift between a lot of the players and Russell Wilson in particularly, because how they felt Pete Carroll in the front office would treat them, and that was something that was spoken about, and that may be some of what caused Russell some issues his first year in Denver when he had his own offense and all that stuff. So, and maybe that's something but hey, maybe the old dog can learn some new tricks there. But like I said, he's won in the past. I think he's going to come in immediately, and I think he's going to demand the respect of the people in the locker room just because of what he's done previously and the fact that he has been able to win and build winning programs. So I think those are all positives. I think we were scraping the bottom of the barrel, and this is basically this is like we were scraping. Hey, we were scraping the bottom of the barrel.
You got the bottom.
Let's just not call
this
scraping
is the best
the
of the
bottom
best.
of the
Best of the best.
I mean, we're not the
bottom.
bottom. I mean, we were halfway. We were halfway down.
It's like when you pour sugar in the Kool-Aid, and it's like that sugar that be at the
Come
bottom.
on, man.
That last sugar at the bottom of the thing. Which you gotta. This is what this was like. But hey,
but are you saying this based on just his age, though? I mean, you can't be saying it for him as a coach.
I'm just joking.
Yeah,
I know. But seriously though, if there were better candidates that were willing to take the job, we would have hired them as displayed. So this was I don't even know if this was a plan B. This could have been plan D or E for all we know. But we made, this was of the people that were willing to come here. This was probably the best. But we didn't cast a wide net. So I don't know if people were saying through back channels that, hey, I'm not taking that job at all, letting the Raiders know. Or was a situation?
We might have cast a wide net. No one wanted to jump in that net.
So I don't know if it was a wide net cast and everybody said no. So then, like, this was automatically the best of that we can do, or if we just didn't cast a wide enough net at all. I mean, that's what I'm kind of wondering.
So, diehard Raider man, I appreciate you pulling up. You said you guys only talk about Seattle. What about New England? 97-99, where you went 27-21 and won a division title year one in 97. If I remember correctly, and don't quote me on this, but if I remember correctly, I think that first year, I mean, he basically took Bill Parcells' roster, and did something with it. Bill Parcells the year before, he had Drew Bledsoe, he had who's that running back over there? He's a good ass running back. Curtis Martin.
Yeah, Curtis Martin. Yeah, I said Curtis Martin. Yeah.
So Bill Parcells had those guys. Also Ben Coates. I think Ben Coates was on that roster too.
Yeah.
With Bill Parcells, I think he inherited a really good roster that year, and I think he did. He won. He won the division title that first year, but then it all went downhill. Not all downhill, but he just wasn't able to repeat after that. But again, young, right? He's young. First stint, then got a second stint, won Super Bowl Seattle. But I do believe that New England roster that he had was a Bill Parcells roster. And he wasn't able to really do too much with it after that very first year.
Yeah.
So correct me if I'm wrong, chat. I think so. Jack, man, I appreciate you pulling up. You're saying the Raiders, the new possible nickname for the Raiders defense, a Legion of Boom with Carroll as head coach. Hey, if we can bring back a defense like that, we'll make it happen.
And plus, like during that New England time, I mean, wasn't that when like the Bills were still real dominant, or was that kind of the end of their?
That was the end. I think Jim Kelly had retired. I think Jim Kelly had retired at that point.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Or he was like toward the end of his career.
Yeah, I'm about to say, because that was always a good division. You know, I mean, because I think Miami still had some good teams at that point. You know, it's kind of probably the tail end of what? Yeah, Marino was probably going by then too, or maybe he was old by then.
Yeah, because Marv Levy left in 96 or 97. 96, 97. I know they put that ass whipping on Arshell and got him up out of here. And I think that was 93. I think that was 93, right? I think when they put that ass whipping on us.
Yeah.
So I think like 3 or 4 years later, Marv Levy was gone.
Yeah. So there was some dog. I mean, they were dogs in that division at that point, but he held his own.
Dominic 5, man, I appreciate you pulling up. You said I think DC is going to be Chris Richard. No C is Darrell Bevel. So we're going to talk about
Chris Richard, but
we don't talk about OCs right now.
I'm mad at Bevel though. Because
I'm not a big fan.
If he learned it, because I think from an innovative standpoint, even though I feel like Mike McDaniel, there's something missing with him, but he still has that innovativeness that I think if he could have taken some from him and just kind of mix it up with his own, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't be mad at it.
Myra, you with the super chat, appreciate you. Stop mentioning boneless wings, okay? Stop doing it. Yeah, Severe will turn around. It just takes some winning, right? We'll see what happens. But again, we ain't hating on them. We got concerns. That's what it is. That's what it comes down to. And so, again, hey, appreciate everybody in chat. Larry, appreciate you pulling up, man. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe. I got Chris Protect Show podcast. I got the Severe Raider. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe. We hit you guys at least during the week. We're gonna try to hit you guys Sunday night as well. And what's cool is Severe. I found that guy that does the cut up or something like that, whatever it is.
Oh yeah.
And so I got some tape. I got some film. Especially on a certain receiver, I got some film, Chris. But we're gonna make it happen. But hey, as we get close to the draft, some of you guys in the chat, you guys that are viewing, we're gonna do some game film. We're gonna review some game film. We're gonna break down some film on draft prospects. Now that Pete Carroll is in place, obviously we got to figure out who his OC and DC are gonna be. As soon as we figured that out, we're going to start looking at the top prospects, and we're going to start breaking down some film on this channel. So be ready for that. Make sure you hit those notifications so you do know when we do go live. So we're going to make this happen. But Appreciate everybody. Make sure you hit that hashtag Raiders if you got a question or something. We got over 300 in the chat, so you guys fly with the comments. I'm trying to keep up. I apologize if I'm skipping over some people, but it's a little tough. You guys fly with it. You guys are definitely rocking the chat. So make sure you hit that hashtag Raiders if you guys got something. But Joel E, you're saying, oh my bad, I clicked on it, but it moved. Joel, you're saying Bobby Slowick, he's out, and I think let's talk about the offensive coordinators. And so, chat, let me know who you would prefer as your offensive coordinator to kind of match up with Pete Carroll. And try to hit that hashtag Raiders so it catch my eye. Real quick, and Severe, I definitely want to get you in on this one. And gotta say what's up to our guy. Dre, what's up? What's going on, man? So I think what's really tough about this Bobby Slowick firing is it lessens the potential of a top tier OC coming our way. You're talking about now the Houston Texans have an OC opening, and that offensive coordinator can go coach CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
There's going to be people waiting in line at that front door of the Houston Texans to want to jump on that job. And so I think for me, it now is going to cut some names down as we move forward. Obviously, there's going to be a ton of – there was, 6 total head coaching jobs, including us, open. And so there's going to be a ton of offense coordinators that now need to get jobs. Yeah. And so realistically, who could we bring on? And so I think the Houston firing really screws us a little bit. So
you know what though? But like, how much of CJ's development was because of Slowick? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like how do we know that another offensive coordinator is going to go to Houston and he doesn't take a couple steps back? You know what I'm saying? So it's like maybe Slowick was. I mean,
I'll say it's hard to determine because of the fact that, one, you look at what happened this year. And remember, you guys know we've broken down film all season long. The hard part about the Texans is they had so many injuries over there.
They did.
It's hard to understand. And I didn't dissect or pay attention to the Texans religiously. So I don't know exactly. Like maybe Bobby Slowick had some bad play calls. Maybe he just was a little off when it came to certain game situations. I don't know exactly. But you talk about damn near every stud on that offensive side went down. Joe Mixon was out for a while. Nico Collins was out for a while. Tank Dell ends up going down.
They
had a lot of injuries.
It is.
Yes. Stephon Diggs early on.
Oh yeah, Diggs are hurt. Yeah,
there's a few offensive linemen too. So I mean, it's
kind of that same argument a little bit with Luke Getsy. It's like, yeah, he wasn't the best, but at the same time, he didn't have a shit ton to work with at all throughout the entire season, and so that's the hard part. It's how much was CJ's regression because of Bobby Slowick, or was it because he just had zero talent to really rock with for the majority of the season? You know what I'm saying? And so,
but watching it, because I watched him quite a bit. I don't know, man. Sometimes it just seems like a lot of it was CJ too, though. You know, I think.
Remember they beat the Bills early in the year when they were healthy at full strength. They beat the Bills.
They started off. They look good. And I think they beat the Eagles or somebody or
I think so.
They had another big win against somebody. I forgot who it was, but yeah, when everybody was there, they looked good. But the thing is, I think to me, I never saw any issues with the play calling, and I'd be curious to see what some of the the fans over there think. But
I actually jumped on to kind of see what. So I jumped on YouTube just to kind of see like what people were saying, whether they're happy with it with the firing or what have you. But we're going. Severe, I'm gonna get your take on it real quick. I mean, let's go. Acres of Movies saying no Slowick. John Raider saying Clint Kubiak. Rick L, you got Clint Kubiak. L11, appreciate you popping in, man. You're saying LaFleur. Let's see. I saw this one. I just dig for meal. I love it.
You only 88.
What's up, Billy D? What's up, man?
Hey.
Man.
Bruce Arians, you're saying Panda, you're saying Michael LaFleur, California Dave, you got Leftwich. That's definitely a name that can float around.
I'll take Leftwich.
Let's see who else we got. Let's go. Okay. Rick, I'm going to say Mike McCarthy. That's the name that I was going to bring up only if he doesn't land a head coaching job. I think he's possibly going to get that Saints job, but the name can float around. Let's see. Jack Kenna, you're saying, what do you think of LaFleur? Frank Wright? We're going to talk about it 100%. Let's see. I just want to make sure I get some. Wes, you're saying Clint Kubiak, definitely a hot name for sure. Let's see. Come on now. Come on. I knew someone was going to do it.
Eric Bieniemy.
Damn it, Hummer. Let's see where we at. I just want to make sure I get some people in. I appreciate you guys responding. Let's see. Like you're saying, is there a college head coach? We'll talk about it. I think for us, I'd much rather have someone that has NFL experience that is currently in the NFL. That was just my preference. But the Tribe, you got Frank Wright, Joe Gibbs. we just going to have the senior center in that front office. That's what we're about to have. Brian Johnson, OC. So, yeah, we got Eric Bieniemy getting thrown out there. Brian Greasy, Larry Fleming. Brian Greasy. Where's Brian Greasy at right now?
I don't know.
I know he's somewhere. I know he's, I think, the quarterback somewhere, or quarterback coach somewhere. I don't know. My bad. Pillaging, man. You ain't about it. Bud, you're saying Leftwich. Appreciate you, man. And we knew someone was going to throw this out there, too. Joel E. John Groove for OC. I'm telling you. Hey, Raider Hawaii. I mean, I don't know. It's decent little name to throw out there, but man, he's enjoying Monday Night Football too much. That's what he's enjoying. So Dominic Fire saying Greasy the Fortnite. Yeah, okay. I knew he was coaching. I just couldn't remember where. So Rick Al, you got Chip Kelly as well. So let's do this, Severe, because now I know you got a hard stop, man. Let us know. Let us know real quick. Who's your top choice for OC?
Realistic options.
Yes. I just want to go realistic, honestly, man, because I mean,
man, realistic options.
Because here, who do we got? I kind of wrote down a list as I was kind of rolling. So you got Clint Kubiak, Bobby Slowick on the market now. If you want to go veteran,
I know Clint Kubiak was a hot name last offseason. I don't even think we got an opportunity to interview him. Bobby Slowick is a guy I like. I don't know what they're going to do with the Texans and their offensive coordinator job, but their quarterback coach, Gerard Johnson, former quarterback at Texas A&M, I believe. I think he's a guy. As a matter of fact, I think last cycle he got some head coaching interviews, I believe. Probably some Rooney Rule stuff, but generally when they do that for you, that means they think you're a coach on the rise, so that they're trying to put you in the pipeline already. You got I'm a trust in Pete Carroll. Apparently he's some sage that can do no wrong. And
God, here we go.
And no matter everywhere he goes, the ground just turns to gold, and butterflies and rainbows appear. So I'm just like, hey, whoever he picks, I'm sure it's gonna be the right guy, because apparently he's all that and a bag of Metamucil. So we'll see.
Oh man, severe. I have a feeling this entire offseason we just gonna get that response. I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Man,
that's
I'm pulling for Pepsi Pete, man. Pepsi Pete, he got my vote of confidence, man.
But I know you got somebody, Big Dog. I know you got. I mean, would you be mad if Bobby Slowick did come over? Like, let's do this. You got Bobby Slowick, a potentially young guy. But how about a veteran, right? You got guys like Frank Wright. You got guys like Chip Kelly, guy that's been in the league before, maybe even a Doug Peterson. Would you prefer a young guy, or would you prefer a veteran in the building?
Man, it really, I mean, I did. What's the Raiders' plan? Like, are like, because I think there's some like misconceptions. I think I've heard it among Raider fans and among people in the media that like the Raiders are trying to win now. Like is that what they're
we're not
trying to like? Because if they're trying to win now, maybe you bring in a Doug Peterson or Frank Reich, something like that. But we have to identify. See, the Raiders are in a tough spot. They're in a very tough spot because of this hire, and it's not, you know, like I said, I think Chip Kelly. I think Pete Carroll, I think he can do the job. It's not about him doing the job now. It's about the week as Raider. This is the thing. The people just there's a circular thought. Like we were just talking about, man, what the Raiders really need is some consistency. We really need some consistency. I'm tired of cycling through these coaches all the time. And then we hired a coach that we're going to have to get rid of in like 3 years. And it's like, but everybody's happy about it though. Everybody's happy. We're going to be going through the same thing again in 3 years. So, but the problem is that if we identify a young guy to come in and be our offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator, and we have a great offense or a great defense, guess what happens? What's going to happen? He's going to get a head coaching job somewhere, just like, you know, just like we and we're going to see, like what we're about to see right now is Dan Campbell. We're going to see like really Dan Campbell's about to have to prove his mettle.
Yeah,
Dan Campbell's about to have to prove his mettle. He doesn't have Aaron Glenn. He doesn't have Ben Johnson. If he come out like gangbusters his first year or the first 2 years, right, on offense or defense, and what do people do? They raid coaching staffs.
Yeah, to win.
Carroll, he's the guy. He knows how to build culture over there. He got these young coaches on the staff. They're doing great. So the only way we can prevent that from happening is to lock a guy in contractually to be our successor. But but then that also lessens our scope, because how many people are going to want to come to this situation then also be locked in as a successor to Pete Carroll? So it's like I said, man, people aren't contextualizing everything. They just say, "Oh, Severe does it. He's a hater. He doesn't like old people." My grandma's old. I love her.
Way to soften them up, Severe. I appreciate that. But I mean, to your point, right? It's going to be tough, because if Pete Carroll, if we do get a young guy, and he does produce, it'll be up to Pete Carroll to now know, I step aside and let him roll. Even if I got a 3-year contract, a 4th-year option, you better hope that he understands the moment, understands the process, and says, you know what, even after 2 years, if you bring in a young guy and he all of a sudden balls and he is the hot name, you better step your ass aside and allow him to take the reins.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so we hope that could make it work. And so,
I mean, I think that'd be perfect, because then, I mean, honestly, Pete Carroll may love to be able to do that, to be the one to set the foundation, help find the next guy, then, be an advisor at that point. Like, because the thing is, he knows he's not going to try to coach forever. I mean, we understand that, but I think that will solidify. If he is the one that gets us back going in the right direction, that solidifies his legacy and will take it even to a whole new level, I think.
Because he is risking it coming here. We all know that. He is risking it.
I don't think so. People know we suck. So it's like, man. Pete, Just look at the chat. There are as soon as I said, what happens if Pete Carroll doesn't win his first tour? Well, Pete Carroll's won everywhere. Of course, you're gonna give him some time. They're already giving him grace. Already, he ain't coached the game yet. So he's already getting the type of grace that other coaches didn't have. He didn't come in with because of his past. So people are gonna look at this like, man, it's the Raiders. Like who could be successful there? Nobody. So he was in an impossible situation, but they expected Antoniopierce to win. They expected Josh McDaniels to win, So it's just, if you like somebody, you'll give them grace. If you don't like somebody, you won't. This is what it is.
I mean, I know you got to go, but I do think, at least with Antoniopierce, very two different situations. Antoniopierce had no history to go off of, and that's the hard part, to trust that process. Yeah. With Pete Carroll, I think we can at least hope that we could trust the process a little bit. So. Yeah, I'll just throw that there. But Tony Chef, appreciate you pulling up. But
for people saying Lane Kiffin, I think Lane Kiffin will have to take like a $9-10 million pay cut to come to the Raiders. But it's not happening.
Yeah, Lane,
it's not coming. It's not happening. He'd have to take a pay cut to come to a bad organization like that one that fired him. But probably still owes him money.
In the worst
still owes him money.
In the worst way.
Lane ain't nowhere in the world Lane Kiffin or anybody associated with Lane Kiffin is going to be coming here.
No.
I'm with you. So, hey, Severe, you got to take off?
Yeah, I gotta go, man.
Okay. Hey, everybody, make sure in the chat, hit up Severe. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you go subscribe. We're going to hit you guys up Sunday night too. So Severe will be back with us and we're going to rock out. But man, Severe, I appreciate you joining us and man, enjoy it. And if another bomb hits, man, we might try to jump on, but
yeah, for sure,
we'll definitely rock out on Sunday night.
Bet.
All right. Later, man. Yeah. So, okay, let's take a look at this chat. Hey, everybody, I appreciate you coming through. Let's take a look at the chat for a second. But Chris, man, I'm gonna throw it to you. Who do you prefer? And we can go two different routes, right? We can go young, we can go veteran, but who do you prefer as it relates to an offensive coordinator? Who would you prefer?
You know, I do like Slowick. I like the thought of him because I feel like he's very innovative. I mean, I've seen what he can do. And to be honest, I was one of the few people who wasn't super high on CJ coming out of college. And then when CJ started balling the way he did, I'm like, wow, okay. But I almost feel like Bobby unlocked something with him. So I'm curious to see what happens with CJ when Bobby leaves. I'm just curious to see that. But you know, I like the you know, if I went someone else young, I'd be curious to see Josh McCown. You know, I think he's a quarterback coach at where's he at?
Minnesota.
Yeah.
I like the name. The hard part I have about McCown is that he just doesn't. I don't like that he doesn't have a lot of experience in the NFL. I think he's only been in the NFL for 2 years. He was with the Jags last year as a coach, and he's now with Minnesota. I like the name. I'm with you on that. I just don't like the fact that he just doesn't have enough experience to come over and all of a sudden be an OC. That would be my only concern.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have the experience as a coach per se, but I mean, all that time in the league, all them different systems he knows. I mean, he's a student of the game, man. I would I would at least bring him in and talk to him.
Oh yeah,
you know,
I agree.
Yeah, and I think Kubiak would be, that's definitely an intriguing name as well. I don't know, man. I don't know. I almost want to go a little younger because I want that person to be the one, the next up. I want him to be the guy that takes over.
Well, talking about Josh McCown and Tony Chef, man, you're saying Josh McCown. One thing I really liked, and it kind of caught my attention, and it's because as coaches, right, you have to be able to relate to the players.
Right.
You have to be able to understand what coaching is tough. Coaching is tough is because you're managing 50 plus different personalities. And you got to understand, how do I reach a certain way to this player and his personality? And I don't know if you saw Johnny Manziel kind of talk about Josh McCown when he was his coach.
Yeah.
And he said he was the one that gave him confidence.
Yeah.
He was the one that was like, look, I'm going to follow me.
Yeah.
Follow me, and I'm going to teach you how to be a professional.
Yeah.
I'm going to teach you how to adapt to the NFL. And that is a perfect example of what a coach needs to be in the NFL.
Yeah. Wasn't what's his name the opposite? Brian Hoyer.
Brian Hoyer, but he was in the quarterback room.
Yeah.
Quarterback. But because then I tied that to, if you I don't know if you've heard it, but Warren Sapp now coaches at Colorado with Dion, right? And Warren Sapp went up to the podium and he said there is a drastic difference between the NFL and college when it comes to players reacting to their coaches. He said in the NFL, he went and tried to coach up some of these NFL kids, and he's like, they'd go to practice, they'd go sit in the film room, but then he'd never hear from them.
Mm-hmm.
It's like these pros. Now, mind you, it's grueling. It's a tough schedule, but these pros did what they needed to do in the room, and then they got out and did their own thing. But in college, he's like, I couldn't sit still without somebody texting me saying, "Hey, coach, can we get in the game film, man?
I want to learn more."
Film.
Yeah.
Like they're hungry.
Yeah.
And the thing is that a lot can determine the success of players based on the coaches that invest in them. And if you can find that coach that is willing to invest in players and kind of take that extra step to understand them on a different level, you can get the best out of players.
Yeah.
And so when I heard that story, I said, you know what?
Yeah,
Okay,
that means
I'm going to
yeah.
pay attention. I'm going to pay
Yeah.
attention to him and just kind of see how he grows with it. But yeah, Josh McCown, 100%. But
and plus, wouldn't someone like that be ideal for, you know, to match up with the Pete Carroll? Because yeah, we say that he doesn't have necessarily that experience as a coach. Who better to get it from than a Pete Carroll? How to handle yourself, you know, how to you know, the ins and outs of being a coach. Because you know, X's and O's, I'm sure he has it, but you know, I think that would be a great opportunity for him. You know, bring in some you know, a strong veteran you know, advisor on the offense, you know, just someone like you know, how Philbin was, or like how Norv Turner kind of was, just as an advisor role for him, someone that he trusts. But I like the idea of that, man. I've always liked Josh McCown anyway, even when he played for us. So
I do in the one way, and Troy Gill, you're saying David Shaw, man. I struggle with David Shaw. I don't know why his name like constantly
his name is always in the mix. Always.
And I'm just like I don't like. Yeah, he had some success over at Stanford, but that success was short lived, and there's nothing after that. So it's crazy that his name constantly gets popped up.
Always,
I appreciate the comment, man. And Steve, man, you in the building? Appreciate you coming through. You're saying, in fact, at least they hire a young coach now and have him learn with Pete. I think that's the goal, right? Is bringing a young coach. You bring a young coach that he could build and then pass on. Diehard Raider, I appreciate you pulling up. You're saying no on McCown. He doesn't have the experience. And I agree. I think that's the biggest knock. But I'll tell you, the one way that you could potentially pull McCown from that Minnesota situation is because Minnesota has their head coach as the offensive coordinator. And I think they just agreed to an extension. Because they got their head coach over there. That is the offensive coordinator. Josh McCown is not going to get an opportunity over there to be a head coach or be a true OC. He's not going to be a play caller.
Exactly. That's what I'm about to say. Exactly.
So you might be able to pull him and be like, hey, come over here and be a quarterback's coach.
Yeah.
Because you might be able to kind of work your way up the ranks. Again, that's a maybe, you know. Yeah. But you look at what he's been able to do with Sam Darnold over there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, but let's see. We got a lot of people are liking LaFleur as well, which can't be mad at that. LaFleur is not too bad. Rob, you're saying you got to look at the fact that Josh McCown was in the league until 2020. He's seen every defense you can throw at him. Yeah, he has, without question. But I will say, seeing a different defense and playing it is very different than scheming against it and coaching it in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I just want to see more experience of him doing that.
That's true.
Is coaching it and installing that defense in. And so, Raymond in the building, you're saying Mike LaFleur. I'm with you. Mike LaFleur is going to be the hot name. I mean, Mike LaFleur, I think, came not only from the McVay tree because he's with the Rams right now, but he also started. I think he started with Kyle Shanahan. I think he started with Kyle Shanahan and moved with Kyle Shanahan when he went to the Falcons. I think it was. And so, definitely interesting name.
And he would actually be one of the ones that, you know, that you're talking about. That hey, here's your opportunity to be the play caller. You can install your offense. You can be the guy to kind of put your stamp of approval on it. You know, you're not under someone's shadow. So, because I love McVay. I mean, anyone that's under McVay's tree, I would always take a look at.
You have to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, Jack, you're saying, Chris, and the nation, do you think PG comes back? Oh, man. All right. We're plugging up to talk D coordinators. But here's the thing is when you look at the defensive coordinators out there, unless Pete Carroll has somebody in mind, right? Like if he's got experience with somebody, he obviously has so much more knowledge than we do when it comes to just the personnel and coaching staffs out there. Unless he's got somebody in mind, it wouldn't be a bad idea potentially bringing Patrick Graham back, because Patrick Graham was tied to the Cincy job. He didn't get that. He was tied to the Jags job. He didn't get that. So the question is, where's he going to go?
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be a lateral movement at this time. At this point,
he's not head coach material anyway. I'm sorry. He hasn't done enough.
With that too, yes.
Yeah, he hasn't done enough. You know, I know he's been getting the interviews, but until you have like a top, to me, at least the top 5, top 7-ish unit, it's hard for me to say, hey, you're ready for that next step. Like, what has he done to really be promoted? I know this year was supposed to be a year that was going to be big for him, but those injuries kind of sidetrack that.
It hurt him, man. The tribe, you're saying, where's Bill Musgrave? I think Bill Musgrave's with Cal. I think he's with Cal, and
yeah, I'm cool
I liked Bill Musgrave when he was with us. Not too sure if he's going to want to come over here. But yeah, when it comes to, I'm with you, Chris. I think Patrick Graham strikes me as a good, serviceable defensive coordinator. I don't see him as a head coach material. Unfortunately, that's just, I just kind of get, I could be completely wrong. I get that feeling that he's a true defensive coordinator, not necessarily head coach material. And look, I think he interviewed a couple times last year. He's got some interviews this year, and people are just not going with him. And I think the window closes. I think the window closes kind of tight now, because a lot of the new head coaching openings are now turning into offensive coordinators, right? They're trying to find that hot offensive coordinator, that top guy that now, I mean, look at all outside of Dan Quinn. You're getting nothing but offensive coordinators being hired on as head coaches. And so I think that's where it's tough, is I think DCs are going to have a hard time getting jobs unless you are like the top guy.
The top, exactly.
The top guy of the cycle. And right now, PG wasn't. It was Aaron Glenn.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it makes it. It's going to be really tough for him to find a job as a head coach unless all the stars kind of align. But yeah, I agree with you, Chris. I just don't know if he's right. So, and Steve, I appreciate you can't make a lateral move while under contract. You have to look at a potential guy who can move up, or unemployed coordinators. I don't know if you're talking about PG, because I think he's not under contract. Or I don't know if he is. I think he extended potentially his contract, or didn't extend his contract.
Yeah, he didn't.
But yeah, guys, we just want to jump on. We want to jump on, and we want to hit you guys with just our take. But we're going to hit you guys Sunday night. We're going to jump back on Sunday night, you know, if anything drops when it comes to coordinators. But on Sunday night, we'll probably talk more about draft. How does Pete Carroll, how did he draft when he was over with the Seahawks? We'll kind of break that down. I'll pull it up on the screen, and we'll kind of get some trends with what he's doing and how it relates to the needs that we have on this team. And we're going to make sure that we try to keep you guys up to date with what's going on and just give you our opinion. Again, chat, I appreciate you guys. You guys were flying. Make sure you guys hit Chris Protect Show podcast. Make sure you guys go over there, hit that like button, subscribe, the whole 9. Obviously, with our guy, Severe Raider, make sure you guys hit him up. But we're going to hit you guys Sunday night. I'm 805 Raider, Real Talk, Raider Nation. Chris, got any last words?
Yeah, man. I just think, we just got to, I hate to say it, trust the process, but because again, I'm all about, optimism has to be earned, but I feel that Pete can at least start that foundation building, because we are so in shambles right now. We need to just start at square one, build this thing up the right way, and I think he can help us.
I think so, and I think this is the first time, I said in the beginning, I think it's the first time that the nation as a whole, look, we do have to somewhat trust the process. Pete Carroll has enough history, enough experience that we just got to make sure that even if he comes out and wins 5 games next year, depending on what happens, like, we just have to try to trust the process. And I know it's going to be difficult if we're not seeing improvement, but he's got the history to prove that hopefully he can put these pieces together and work something out for us. So I appreciate everybody in that chat. Billy Davis, Fudge, man, I appreciate you pulling up. Jack Canna, all you guys, SoCal, Tony, Assassin, and Die Hard.
Appreciate everybody, man.
All you guys pulling up. You guys have a great weekend. Again, if nothing pops up, we'll see you on Sunday night. But if something pops up, we might hit you guys. So turn on those notifications so you do know when we go live. So again, hey, also everybody, if you're still here, appreciate the super chats. Always appreciate them. But hey, guys, have a great Friday. Great rest of your weekend. Till the next one. We'll see you guys. We're out.
Peace.